Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. Today we are going to be landing on Minmus. The last time that we were there, we only orbited the moon, and this time we're going to attempt to land on it. To do so, we are going to be using the same exact rocket with a couple modifications here. So last time we launched this, we completely forgot to have a fuel line from our secondary stage to our main stage. So let's plop one of those in there real quick, like so. And then we are also going to need some landing gears, so we can plop those right on over here. We're going to need at least 3 of them, I do believe, if I could enable our third thingy. There we go. So let's plop these right over here, and we want these as far down as we can go, so right there should work. I also want to change out these solar panels that we have on here because these are non-retractable, so instead of having those blow up when we re-enter the atmosphere again, we are just going to get rid of them right this instant, and we can go ahead and plop in the retractable ones. That should do the trick. I'm actually going to adjust these a little bit because I don't like that they're covering the door. Alright, that's much better here. We're also going to be changing out some of our science equipment in this thing as well. So we don't need 2 mystery goo things. We only need 1 of those. We also don't need the batteries anymore, so let's get rid of those. We want to plop this back in there like that. And we also want to add in our new science stuff. So the seismic thing can go here. We also want to plop, let's see, what is the other thing that we got? This thing, the boom. So for right now, let's place the thermometer over there and then place the boom in the middle of our box. A little more center would do great. There we go. And that should be the only changes that we had to make on this thing. I don't remember anything else being wrong with it, so let me go ahead and set our crew correctly and make sure all of our staging is also right, and then we will be launching here in just a second. And before we take off, I did go ahead and add a couple of these things to our inventory. They are EVA experiment kits. I don't know if they're going to be beneficial or not. I don't know if these guys just carry them by default, so these are just kind of pointless, or if those are going to be able to be carried and used to give us a little bit more science here. I'm not too sure, but I brought 2 of them so that we can orbit Minmus, do one, and then land on Minmus and do the other one. So hopefully this kind of works out and we do get a little bit more science with those guys, but I'm not too sure. We will see here in a second, but we are good to launch. So let's go ahead and get things rolling here. If I remember correctly with this engine, we could throttle down a little bit. Or, nope, probably the wrong one. Never mind, because we kind of started slowing down a little too much there. All right, well, this launch is not off to a good start here. I didn't have the symmetry thing enabled when I put the fuel line between the 2 tanks there. So one side has a little bit of fuel left over, and the other one is completely empty. So that caused us to, like, start spinning and losing control here. So I'm going to separate everything, and then, oh, no, and then land. So as we're floating back down, I do want to see if we can use this thing to gather up any science. So let's plop that there. Let's have this guy go on an EVA. Hopefully we don't get flung off. We're good. Okay, so now can we do an EVA report or perform EVA science? There we go. And we cannot do one right now. So maybe once we splash down, we might be able to do one. I'll see here in a second. I wasn't able to use that science thing once we landed, so we might have to actually like walk around on the surface of something to use that. So right now we are going to relaunch this. I fixed the fuel line issue, so we should be good on this one. So let's go. All right, well, let's go ahead and land. We do have a lot of fuel left over in this orange tank, so I'm just going to use that to get us into a landing trajectory here, and then if we run out of fuel on the way down, we can just swap on over to our other tank here. It's not really that big of an issue, so let's just burn until we have something going kind of straight down. Would be ideal. We can speed up here a little bit, and that is looking pretty good. If we go a little bit more, we should be dropping kind of straight down. So let's go a little bit more, and that should do the trick. And there's touchdown, although we are slightly tipping over. This is bad. This is real bad. I want to land on our legs if we can, please. RCS, pull us up. No, I don't want to land like this. Oh, this is bad. That's bad. Okay. Our RCS was not able to keep us up that time. That is a little unfortunate. If we press this one, we should have our solar panels fold in. I want to disable RCS as well. So hopefully we're able to take off here. I don't know how doable that's going to realistically be because this is not an ideal landing. But anyways, now that we're down, we might as well do all of our science stuff real quick and then get us out on an EVA as well. 125 science for a science thing right here on the bottom. That's awesome. All right, so with everybody out here, let's go ahead and plant our flag. And with that down, let's go ahead and do a surface sample. Let's do an EVA report, and let's also do the science thing if it lets us do that. It's letting us take it out. That's good. Oh, he's going to golf. That's what that thing is? I thought it was going to be some science gathering. That's pretty cool. Okay. I didn't see the ball leave, but we'll just agree that it did. And that is going to generate 125 science, so I will gladly take that. I'll hit golf balls all day for that kind of science. So before we try and take off here, I want to see if it's possible for us to tip ourselves back over with our RCS fuel. It's not really budging, so maybe we just pull the gear up, see how that works. Maybe we can then thrust a little bit. No, that's not going to work. This could be a very stupid idea, but we can try and take off. Do we have gimbal? We have gimbaling on the engine, so it could possibly work out. The gravity isn't too bad on this moon, so unless we clip something, we should probably just slide up the mountain and take off. So let's give it a go. Hopefully this works. I really don't want to have to mount a rescue mission for these guys. Oh, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Yes, yes, yes. Let's get some thrust going. Let's turn our RCS off because we don't need it anymore. We want to go up and out. That worked out pretty well. As long as we can get back into an orbit, we can adjust and get our people back home. That is fantastic. That mission takes the cake here. We just brought in 1,002 science, so let's take that. We also, I don't really care about the money back anymore, to be honest with you guys, but our engineer leveled up, so that's good. I don't know what he gets from being level 3, but that's good nonetheless. So with all of those science points, we're going to unlock a couple things here. We're going to get some more solar panels that are going to produce a little bit more power. That's going to be great for us. We're also going to unlock scanning tech so that we have more stuff that we can put onto our satellites and stuff, so let's get that. I'm also going to grab specialized control and this one right over here as well if we have enough points. We do indeed. So let's grab this. This is going to give us more brains or more computer things to choose from between the satellites, and for right now that's all we're going to unlock. So let's go ahead and see what these new pieces of gear do. I believe the fly-by-wire thing allows us to have a control thing like we do with our pilot right now. So instead of having to just kind of force our way into the maneuvers, we should have the ability to lock ourselves into it now. If I can find the actual tab where it's at, there we go. So that thing is really tiny, but this thing plus one of our robots allows us to have all these same maneuvers that we have with our pilots at the moment. So that is going to be great for our unmanned missions. Anyways though, now that we have this thing unlocked and it's going to allow us to have the maneuvers on our satellites, we are going to attempt another rescue because we also have the other thing now as well, which is this guy. So with one of these on our satellite, we are going to be able to latch on to the other satellites that we currently have orbiting, and then with that we are going to regain control. So I want to try and redesign our satellite to allow the incorporation of one of these things into it so that we can try and dock to the other satellites and continue the missions that we planned for those satellites. So give me a second here. We're going to redesign the satellite and then we're only going to launch one right now. Hopefully it works out. If it does, then we know we can launch the other two and regain control of our other satellites as well. But we're going to try one to start off with and make sure that this is actually going to work. Alright, well we got our new satellite into orbit around Kerbal. The only thing left for us to do is have a connection point with one of our other satellites that we're trying to rescue here. So that is going to depend on where we get flung out when we do our moon maneuver, but hopefully we'll be close enough to one of these 3 satellites to be able to continue the mission that we started a little while ago. So let me go ahead and get a grav assist from the moon and see where we end up at. Well, I have a couple maneuvers set up here to have a connection point with our secondary satellite, and it's going to put us within range, I think, to regain control of the satellite itself before we dock to it, because there's only going to be a 618,000 kilometer separation. So hopefully that means we regain control and we can make some maneuver adjustments with that thing as well, because we're going to be using up pretty much all of our fuel on this satellite right now. So if we miss and we don't regain control of it, then this is also just going to be another satellite floating around in space, because the separation from all of these things right now is so far. So I don't know how doable this is actually going to be. We're going to give it our best shot though. Well, it looks like I've added yet another satellite to the junk pile here, because we're not close enough to regain control of this thing. Right now we are 497 million meters away from it. The closest we are going to get is 395 million meters. So that is not going to be close enough to regain control of it, let alone dock to it. So that's just going to be floating around still. This one is completely out of fuel also, so we can no longer make any more maneuvers. I've used up all the fuel as well as all of the RCS fuel as well. So right now it's just going to float around the sun until eventually it either hits something or it just continues floating around to the end of the series here. I don't really know what it's going to do. So basically all we've done is waste a whole bunch of money yet again. So what I'm going to do right now is actually head on back to the space station and rebuild or build out a completely different satellite. Now that we have some extra science stuff unlocked, we are going to try and incorporate that into the build, and hopefully with the antennas on there, we are going to keep control over it and actually send it to one of these planets. So I'm going to try and either aim for Duna or we're going to aim for Eve. One of those is where we're going to end up. So hopefully with a new satellite build out, we are able to actually get there. So let me get to work here, and hopefully we have something put together that is going to get us there, and not back, but at least get us there. Alright, well I got our new satellite into orbit around the sun, so now we have to set up some maneuvers to either go to Eve or to Duna. We are going to see which one works best here. We only have a little bit of fuel left over. I dropped the other spare tank and cut out the RCS stuff as well. So all we got to play with is this fuel tank here. So we got 2,500 meters a second of fuel left. So either we get something that connects, or yet again, we're going to have yet another satellite just floating around doing nothing. So this is the maneuver that we're going to be using to get on over to Duna right now. It's only going to cost us 931 fuel, and so right now we have 2,500. Once we're done with that, we will hopefully have enough to get into an orbit around Duna as well. So let me go ahead and do this maneuver and see how things pan out over on that end of the orbit. Well, we finally made it on over to Duna. So right now we are in a polar orbit around it. We also have Ike over there that we can try and gather up some science from as well, but I don't know how many of these things are going to be reusable right now. I know that the mystery goo and the science container are not. The little thermometer and the barometer thing are, so maybe we can swing by Ike as well and gather up a little bit more science. But on this mission, we do have a couple new pieces. So we have this thing, which I'm not too sure what it does. This is probably not even usable, is it? This is, oh yeah, we can do an orbital survey. Let's do that. So nothing popped up on screen like normal, but over on the left side where the little words were just popping up, it did say that we generated 50 science. So I'm not too sure what exactly this is used for. There is another thing. Why is the planet purple? I think it's because of this thing. We have this. Oh yeah, we can change the color of it. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay. So, yeah, I think this is probably kind of pointless on this mission right now, because we have another piece of equipment called a ground scanner. So I didn't bring any of those with me because I didn't think I would use them, and I didn't realize this was kind of going to be piggybacking off of those things as well. But I guess it didn't really hurt because we did get 50 science from it. So can I see any resources? I can. Okay, cool. So there's an average of 5.42 average of ore. It doesn't tell me what kind of ore though. Anyways though, let's move on over to the next thing here. We can leave the scanner open, I guess. I don't really mind. Let's see. We want our antenna open. I don't know why that closed. I want to open the antenna, please. Cool. We've also got this thing, which is an atmosphere analysis machine, so we cannot do that right now. I might have to go back to the Space Center and see what the altitude limit for that thing is, because some of these things do have a limit to how high up you can be for them to work. But let's go ahead and run everything else as well, and then we will warp back over there and see what the limit is on that thing, and then we'll try and get to it to be able to use it. And the other new thing that we have is this guy right here, which is an infrared telescope. So we can log our data, or we can start tracking something. So let's log our data first, and then let's also start tracking something. Or never mind, we can't track anything. So this thing doesn't have an altitude listed for it, so we might have to use it on the ground. I'm not too sure, because this thing is the surface scanner, which I thought we would have to use on the ground, but it also has an altitude, or a max altitude of 1,000 meters. So we could have probably brought this with us, although there's no way we're gonna get to 1,000 meters because we don't have any heat shielding on our satellite here. So we can't really go too far into the atmosphere because we're just gonna break our satellite. So I'm gonna go back and see if by pulling ourselves down a little bit, if we are able to use this thing or not. So I went ahead and transferred all of our scientific data off of our satellite here, just in case we end up crashing this. But what we're going to do is pull our orbit all the way down to 50,000 meters on Duna, because that's when the atmosphere starts. And hopefully we're able to run our scientific thing that we couldn't run a second ago. We also have a couple more that we can rerun, so I'm going to do those as well. And the reason that we're doing this instead of trying to get on over to Ike is because we just don't have the fuel to do that. Also, our orbit that we came in at is really not great either, so we have to kind of do this or just not do anything else, I suppose. So even at 50,000 meters, we're not able to run this thing still. So I'm going to dip just barely below the atmosphere. I'm going to aim for like 49,000, 48,000 at most to see if we can then run this thing. If we still can't run it, then we have to get ourselves back into an orbit because we're just going to break the thing if we don't. So I'm going to give it a go. Let's burn a little bit. We are going to hit a low of 47,000 meters. So let's speed up time until we hit a point where this number says 40,000, and then we will run this thing once again. All right, well, hopefully it lets us run it now, and it did. Okay, cool. So we can immediately start burning. I want to very quickly do everything else now that we are considered in the atmosphere of the planet. That's going to give us a little bit more science. Can we also do one of these? We cannot. Okay, so that is all the science stuff, I'm pretty sure. Let's start burning to get ourselves back out of the atmosphere, and hopefully we can do that. And come on, a little bit more. Uh-oh, a little bit more, please. Well, we are going to get out of the atmosphere. I just need to make sure that I burn one more time to pull up this side of the orbit as well, because this side went way out there. I didn't realize how low the gravity was on this place, but that should be good. We can now transfer even more of our science back. This is going to be pretty interesting to see how much we actually get from this whole transaction here, because I've sent a couple things back already. So sending all of that science back took a little while because we didn't have enough power on the satellite to keep the transmission running constantly. So I did have to change it to partial, but at least we gathered up another 900 and something science because we are back up to 1,070. So do we have enough to upgrade this building? We are $40,000 short. So instead of spending all of our science points right now, I think I'm going to run a couple contracts in between episodes, build up some cash so that we can upgrade the building and then build out some rockets as well and not just bankrupt ourselves here. But we want to level up the building so that we can start unlocking the next tree of stuff here. So right now, I don't know what exactly we're going to aim for. We'll try and figure that out next episode when we have the money to upgrade the building, but that is going to be it for today's episode. We got a satellite all the way to Duna. We got a landing on Minmus today. That was also good. But yeah, we did some good stuff today. So I hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.